Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going? It's Monday afternoon. It's not Sunday. Your eyes don't deceive you. We're here talking about a couple of books this week. We don't have a ton to talk about comic-wise, but we did want to try to get a chat in anyway. It's Monday. I imagine people are working, unlike us who are currently sitting at home. I mean, Rasa is well after work hours, so me, there's really no excuse. Hello, Rasa. Welcome.
Welcome. Well, welcome me. But happy past Father's Day to all.
Thank you very much.
That's why we weren't doing it. We obliged to give you guys the freedom of having your day of the year.
Yeah. Our 1 day a year where we feel important. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then, Monday. It's way past the time. It's kind of weird, but it's good to actually... it was really weird on Sunday, to be honest. I was like, thinking, my comic kind of brain switched it on.
Yep.
I was like, oh, wait, switched back off. Okay, just chill now. You can do whatever.
It's
not that I'm rushing.
I felt the exact same way. Yeah.
It's not like rushing or anything. It's just a habit. It's a good habit to have,
Yep.
like it's very comforting, to be honest, knowing exactly what's happening, at least for me, kind of thing, because I'm kind of used to this chat and we do. I have to mention, have you watched the first episode of Revival series?
Oh, I haven't. I guess I didn't realize that it was out now. I have not seen it. Let me put that into my old computer so I don't forget.
Yeah, dude. So the first episode came out on 12th, and as a person who is a fan,
yep.
Oh, I can't hate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't have lasagna, however.
Yeah. I haven't had lasagna in a while now. So honestly, they almost to whatever I expected, it happened. It was surprising how much details they went for in this first episode. It almost felt like reading comic book in a way, not that T to T, but as excited as I was. So both sisters are intriguing. The actress Dana is, I don't know, I know the face. I'm sorry, I don't know the names of the people on back of my head. I know all the faces. I've seen them in TV land for sure. I know there's CM Punk, which one name I remember, but there was it's being plastered everywhere. Yeah, he's gonna be there in the series, so he's gonna appear. So the only one I know, because I watched CM Punk wrestling, so in the times decades ago.
I'm looking at the cast list and I don't recognize anybody.
No, but I've recognized I know quite a few of them, face wise. So I've seen them in TV shows, I presume. But they so far everything, the creepy vibes, the atmosphere, the famous first issue scenes with this old lady, spot on. It was as creepy as you can imagine to be. Had all the vibes. Yeah, look at Sam. I think he's mentioned everywhere. So yeah, I was waiting for that moment, and I was thinking, okay, it's kind of creeping to the end of the show, TV episode. I was like, shit, are we gonna put that in right in the first episode? And thankfully they have, because that was at least to me, as a great selling point. And I think I heard people talking about that when they were reading the Revival in the first issue. That was quite creepy as shit, so they have everything so far. It feels very much kind of the area, the times. Maybe they have changed slightly a few things, but so far I am pleased. My husband watched it with me, and he hasn't read the comic, and he's started asking questions. I was like, why are you asking me questions? Just watch it, be surprised. Yeah. But then he's like, but you know things. I was like, no, watch it. I'm not spoiling that for you. And it's but it's because there's a moment so there's two sisters. Okay, one is a copper. All the family. So dad is a copper, my sister is a copper, and there's a sister. Who is kind of the youngest of the child, kind of she has freedom to do whatever she wants. She studies, and that's what happens in that first episode to her. They nailed it also, which is fantastic. So they have those moments, nailed it. It is nice because they have mentioned names like the family who has been in trouble. They call Sealies, which is Tim Seeley, the writer. So they have those
yeah.
little nuggets there.
Nice.
So I was like, I caught on stuff like that. So that was quite nice. And
Yeah.
it looks like the creators who have chosen to do this TV show, they knew the material. And it seems to be that people who, Mike Norton, the artist, and Tim Seeley, the writer, is there plastered on the screen as well, which is fantastic. Of course, they get all the credit. But I think it seems to be that they have been in talks to them also, because there's some certain details some TV shows who they do for a comic book doesn't feel the same way. But this one, in my opinion, maybe I'm such a fan of the comic, I kind of all nuggets and details, I kind of caught them on, and I got really excited. So it's only one episode so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me. Wow, somebody is hooting.
Somebody's pissed.
Yeah, I had to open the window because it's quite actually hot, sunny in this room. So I'm going to sweat my pants off if I don't.
Right.
So that's why this loud mouth is wherever they are. So yeah, so I'm excited about it. So I'm
Sci-Fi Channel and CTV Sci-Fi Channel in Canada. Okay, so this might actually be fairly simple for me to find.
Oh, good.
To be able to watch. So yeah, cool. Because I was just going to say, is it Netflix or not? But I answered my own question.
Yeah.
5 people hanging out here already. Holy smokes, that's amazing. Cool. Shall we jump right into it, or did you see anything else? Or because I didn't really see anything. I watched a documentary on this Pier Pasolini, but that's it. Yeah.
I watched your Pee-wee
documentary. Oh, you did? Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Dude, I bawled my eyes out right at the end.
Yeah.
The way, the last sentence he has, or the last message he gave to the director. Yeah. That struck quite notes. I was like, I don't know why I'm so emotional about it, but honestly, I felt like he went through everything and how long he's been in the business and stuff. So Pee-wee documentary was sad, but as entertaining as you mentioned it was.
Yeah.
And
good. Yeah.
I never grew up to that Pee-wee stuff because in that time my country was going through shit with Russia. So I don't think that was exposure for us in that time. But I know the face. I knew the height of whatever he was somehow translated through. I guess later on, like it's just the famous face. But what they what they done to him is just ridiculous, man. Somebody had somebody had something for like against him, and they just went for it, and they basically destroyed the man's life.
Yeah.
And the character, him itself, like when he was like in those teenage times, he was like proper, like, he knew kind of things, explorations. He was never afraid to explore, but also in a way hiding it behind, the mask of that, and how crazy he wasn't known for what he was. And he wanted to be famous, and he said, well, famous came to me quite quickly, but am I really the one famous, or is the Pee-wee character is the famous guy? So
yeah,
that dynamic really helped me. Like, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and that's a good way to think about it too. Like, because he created this character, the character, he says in one of the parts, I think part 1, where he's like, my name wasn't credited because it's Pee-wee, but I made those choices. I just find the whole thing, it was just so good. But yes, I mean, when people have it out for you, man, it's insane what they'll do.
All this, they said to me about that porno mags they found on the really that the picture was what they were looking for. I was laughing because I remembered what you were saying. I was like having a giggle. I was like sadly giggle, like really that's what you concern yourself. Like, how many porn magazines do you see in the child's bedroom? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in those eras, and that was perfectly okay with that.
Yeah, totally.
It's just, like there's a different levels of stuff.
Yeah, it's insane. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. There's something funky going on with my speakers. Is the stream okay for everybody watching? Because on my end, I keep getting mixed results here as far as like my notifications. I can hear Rasa okay, but I'm just making sure that everybody else can hear both of us okay.
Yeah, you sound good to me as well, so maybe it's good then.
Let's see what's happening.
Good.
That should be the correct speakers. Okay, I think try talking again. What do I got?
Oh, you go. Oh, good. Sounds good. Look, even Colin is mentioning hello. Hey, Colin.
Hello, Colin Blanchette.
Hmm.
Is that when Rasa speaks? Is there any sort of echo? Just say something for us. Sing us a
Ah,
song.
sing us a song. Oh no, Sigma, Sigma boy, Sigma boy. My son's singing that song. I can't.
There you go. So just let me know if there's any echo. Do you hear any echo, Rasa, when you talk, or you were okay?
I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay, good. All right. I think it's solved on my end. I can hear everything much better now. Um, so why don't we jump into things? I mean,
So
I
we.
feel like we saved the big book for last
Oh,
and
okay.
talk
I
about
thought I
some other
thought you're
stuff.
gonna just jump into it.
Well, I mean, it's up to you. Whatever you think. What do you think we should
I
start
can
with?
show you something which I like an extra. Like I didn't read that name, but
Okay, give her. Go ahead.
I finally purchased something. The Sixth Gun, the Road to the 6-0 issue. Apparently, I think they're doing extra stories about the Sixth Gun. I've mentioned you, Colin Bunn and Brian Hurt's previous iterations, which came out in beautiful collected editions. They came out in single issues. They became famous because they released a zero issue on Free Comic Book Day or issue one on Free Comic Book Day, and since then they just skyrocketed into fame because the story is really great. And this is before or after. It's quite confusing. I really don't know the intent because I never do proper research. I know the name, I know the people involved, and I'm suddenly I want to get to read this. All this symbolisms and all this, the first kind of page is basically what you have seen from previous issues. I've read this series quite a long time ago. I don't know how long it's been since they released that one. I always wanted to read that in single format because I felt like that book would have been great, but I read them in collected editions, all sorts of ways. I have one in one in trade paperback, then I got like libraries to read the whole thing. I always wanted to own Gunslinger editions, which were fantastically done, but never happened. But then I saw this one somehow on the list of my comic book I sending, so I was like, okay, definitely I'm gonna go get it because there's nobody else having the same title, I hope. But Colin Bunn is and Brian Hurt's creation was fantastic. So this one, it says like, yeah, 600 years before Becky Mortfield received the Sixth Gun, and it's of a knight who basically tries to protect the village from these creatures who's invading it completely. I'm not really sure what's happening, to be quite honest with you, but it's extremely entertaining. It has that kind of familiar writing sense because of course creative team are the same, the artist is the same. We have a new story coming in, and I'm basically surprised by end because I don't really, as I say, recall much of details, but I remember how much I enjoyed reading the story. When you read something right for quite a long time past and you kind of recall the good parts, but you don't like fully kind of tell you exactly details of everything.
Mhm.
uh the cowboy things and all that stuff that just appeals to me fully. So of course there's that involved, and this guy comes in, is a like a is after some relic once again, and he's being guided by this young chap to this cave nobody knows, and apparently in that cave there's this mysterious building appears, and he's like, oh my god, what are we gonna find there? And the guy just guns him down right at the back, saying, oh, that's not for you to find out. He enters, and there's a mysterious figure having this conversation. Mind your business. Talk to you when you've been talked to. Shut up when you don't need to talk about anything. It's kind of that kind of sense. So this book is kind of like laying down some path we're gonna go forward with. And maybe I should have needed to know some extra details, but honestly, I still enjoyed it thoroughly. All this like mysterious, like treasury kind of type of hunting for mysterious like relic stuff is always up my alley, and Siskan always delivered. And also there's like time jumping. There's two people, sheriff and his assistant, going chasing this dude who has something they needed to get, and they end up traveling in Asia by some miracle, and apparently they have to go through the portals. It's already intriguing enough for me to continue with this. I'm not really mad about the price tag. It's July, the release date of the issue number one. I guess this is a taster to what's to come, I presume. But whatever it is, I'm probably gonna get because I know how intriguing the Six Gun was when I
Mhm.
read it. and this team so far is, it's like going back to what it was. I think people are always saying like, is there more for them to tell the story? And I think that's what is happening, because they really did tell the story, and it's well worth for you to hand out the sixth gun to actually read. It's just really nice sense of the book. So yeah, I read it. $4.99 though. Like, oh, why this new number ones are so expensive these days?
Yeah.
I really wish they wouldn't be, but yeah, okay, I gave in, I guess, because I know the people. And Columban, really not many things. I mean, he writes lots of horror, but I think when he starts writing stuff like that with mysterious inklings of like, like folklore, maybe tales or something like magical or something like that, it does really well as well. So I really like that. So I think I will see what I'm definitely picking up now issue number 1, because maybe I will have more idea what's going on. Maybe I'll do a bit more research. But so far, without knowing really what's this all about, I enjoyed it. Even though 3 stories to give, it gives you 3 stories, and all of them intriguing by themselves. Like maybe the last couple, because the like cowboys coming into Japan just because they can come through portal, and it's like, excuse me, how, what? Like that Usagi vibe, like that kind of stuff. It's just, anyway, so far this is quite intriguing, so we'll see what's going to be next. And
I mean, it's one of those series that first bunch of them, like, they were very, very popular, especially on comic YouTube. There was a lot of people talking about them. So yeah.
And I hope Only Press continues, because I read somewhere saying that they have issues with the staffing as well. And I think it's becoming more and more, like, I read more and more things that Diamond is pulling some things, like Zenoscope billing Diamond for something, or some stuff, like companies are struggling really. And I think for the first time now we are hearing consequences of the Diamond's bankruptcy things, and it's not going to be an easy feat, it seems to be, to ordering comic books these days, and comic book wherever people who's dealing with comic books, getting stuff is not easy anymore as it used to be a smooth sailing. So I don't know what's happening.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, when with these companies having issues and comics not selling like they are, these, they have to downsize at some point, right? Yeah. It is unfortunate, though. I hear you.
Another thing, just before I mention that, because I just remembered, one thing is very exciting is the people who I follow on socials. There's this lady who has been doing YouTube videos. She's like a graphic designer / whatever, like the people who makes the online business. And she's just got signed up with First Second to do graphic novel, which is fantastic. So the person I knew, which I followed from YouTube for long ass time, she's very kind of popular. The YouTube videos really goes through a lot. But what I really enjoy, she said that she wants to become a comic book artist fully, which is not something people aspire, like fully. You hear them saying, I mean, there's lots of people who aspire to be one, but she's like, this is my goal. I'm going that way. That's it. This is what I want. And she really likes reading and blah, blah, blah. And now hearing that she actually signed up with First Second, and I love First Second books. Don't get like anything, whatever I read from First Second, no matter it was like maybe young person's book, young adult book, or like more serious, all of them are great. So they really have that great taste when it comes to people, what ideas, what they want to have it as a graphic novel. So I'm really excited about that kind of thing. So this is what makes me excited about hearing people who just goes in to do publishing.
Every First Second that I've read with Lillian, there hasn't been one that's been a dud. Like, we've loved every single one of them.
Yeah. First Second
really,
is great. It's really good. I think they're catering to a lot of tastes, and they're catering to lots of demographic, which is great. And I think that's fantastic if you can somehow measure to all and never get them, like confused on anything on that levels. But First Second, I don't know, wherever I read, like I don't know how many I have from First Second myself. I own in the back of it. I can't see it now because I nicely cover everything, so now I can't really see what I have.
right.
But honestly, Tilly Walden is the one which basically is the first Second maybe person I've kind of like remember reading it from, like from First Second, and then I discovered more because thankfully my library is also quite famous, like have a lot of first, second books as well, and they like that kind of publishing house, so which is great. So
it is Monday. Don't be
Yeah.
confused. It's confusing to us too. And then Sean is saying Diamond hasn't been shipping stuff or paying publishers. Sadly, yeah. I was talking to my comic guy, and or his wife rather, and she was saying the same thing. I was telling Rasa before the stream that they're at a point where we don't know what we're getting, when we're getting, or if we'll even get stuff. It's just really, and then there hasn't been much communication. So I imagine if that's happening with one comic shop, it's happening to a lot. So it really seems to be up in the air, which makes it really difficult for these businesses who are relying on pre-sales and kind of regular customers. Because if your comic isn't in 1 week at one shop, maybe you're going to try another shop, and then next thing you know, you're dropping people, right? So
exactly, that's the thing my comic book guy struggles with, and he keeps apologizing, even though he's the one who, like, he's like, I'm trying to get the stuff you want, but I can't get them in, like it doesn't come on time, or you expect the time you should be delivered. And that's the thing. That's how I say it's like a bad domino effect. Now we're having the Diamond's bankruptcy stuff situations. Now we hear more and more shit what's happening around, like a lot of companies complaining that they haven't, like you say, been paid, or things hasn't been delivered on time and stuff like that. That hurts business. And
totally.
With pricing these days, I'm sorry, but if you don't deliver, I leave. I even told some of the things I've been ordering, I kind of thinking like I have to or cancel it completely, or I just, like look somewhere else. But I don't usually tend to, like I stick to the people who's been delivering my books for me for a decade. So why would I?
Yeah.
It's becoming quite a thing.
I wonder if some small publishers have gone under already from lack of Diamond payments. Yeah, I mean, that. And then when I do finally get my sickness book in, there will be a discussion about that there, because some of these companies don't help themselves either. I'm very dissatisfied, I got to say, with Uncivilized Books and the way that they've dealt with this sickness volume 1. I just received an email from them saying that they still haven't shipped ones out. Apparently they're concerned about the postal strike in Canada, which I keep getting mail every day. That postal strike in my mind is done, so I don't know what the delay is. It's in the shops. It's been in the shops. So I think that match that now with Diamond, if some of these companies are having to do things themselves, they've got to now step up their game as far as fulfilling pre-orders and that sort of thing, if they're not going to rely on a third-party distributor. A trade paperback for Red came out last week of May, and there were reportedly dozens of orders, but I haven't heard of a single person actually getting their copies yet. Yeah. And again, pardon me, as like a consumer, a fan, or whatever you want to call us, we're a fickle bunch, right? Like if we can't get it, then that turns people off of companies, because why would you if you can't get the stuff? If it's so much of a hassle to get it, you really have to be committed to a certain title or artist or whatever it is that's drawing you there, right? So
okay,
crazy.
Your turn. Do you have anything? Like, how many do you have? I have two more to talk about.
Well, I mean, like, I've got Adventure Time that I read, but there's nothing really to talk about. It's just really good. I've got Godzilla Heist that I read, which again, I'm kind of losing steam on that. So maybe I'll talk.
Too many Godzillas. Don't you think there's too many Godzillas?
There's a lot of Godzilla. Yes, there sure as hell is. I do not disagree with that.
Why Marvel's doing Godzilla?
Chocolate, get off of there. I mean, and again, like for Heist, it's almost over. I think there might be an issue or two left. This is number 4. It was a good premise in the first issue, but I find I'm really losing steam. It's just not holding my interest. So I'm glad it's a mini series. The art is fun and all, but this one, the storytelling in it was pretty bad as far as even just panel to panel. And I mean, I'm all for minimal backgrounds and stuff, but there's page after page where it's just this red background, which I don't know. It seems like an old thing to complain about, and it's not necessarily a complaint. It's just you do notice those things sometimes. And I think the thing for this book is because it's not as engaging for me now, all I'm noticing is those other things, right? Where at least if the story was engaging, I wouldn't be concerned with that shit whatsoever. It would just pass me by like reading manga or something, right? But because the story itself is kind of dull, I'm like hyper focusing on like, oh, those panels look like they're backwards. Is that actually a split in the panel? Since I'm on it, let's talk about this one. Well, because I'm on a roll here, so I may as well kind of actually finish a complete thought and show you examples of what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about.
Mm.
So for example, so Mechagodzilla, the heist has been to
Mm-hmm.
crash this a governmental facility
Okay.
and get their hands on Mechagodzilla.
Oh
A couple
boy.
of our main characters, one specifically, his mother was
Mm-hmm.
instrumental in designing Mechagodzilla,
I
and
see.
the government stole it away from her. So he's in there trying to, and it ruined her life.
Oh
He's in
wow.
there trying to steal Mechagodzilla and use it as a tool for good, bad. It's sort of unknown. So this panel here really bothered me a lot. The lead up to this is this scientist guy has opened the door. So he's opened the door to Mechagodzilla, and it
Mm-hmm.
looks like it's closing. Whose hand is that? Did he make it in? And then if he did, are these two separate panels? And if so, why are they there? Because if he's inside this door, why is he still outside? Why is this guy here? Because then it cuts to him
Yeah.
sitting in the chair. So it's like, I mean, that would be confusing storytelling at the best of times, but it's extra, like I said, it's extra confusing when you're really trying to look to get something out of the story itself and it's just not there in any other way. Then you have stuff like this where it's like, well, now I'm
Yeah.
annoyed and I don't really like the story and I
Mm.
don't know what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? So you sort of just let stuff slide. So I'm just at a point where I'm going to pick up the rest of them because I've got most of them already. I may as well pick up the last issue or
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah, I think I might be off of the Godzilla boat, and I don't get a lot of those titles anyway. So the
Mm.
one that I did enjoy, which we'll quickly talk about, I finally read an
Oh.
issue of Grips from Silver Wolf. So for those of you that are kayfabe aficionados, Jim Rugg talked about Grips a lot. So I do have this, and then I've also got the
Oh.
Greater Mercury Comics collected. I think it's the first 4 issues, and then
Oh.
an intro story, first appearance, a short story, and things. So I decided to dip into the comic,
Mhm.
and it's kind of what you expected. It's like just hyper violent. This our main character, this Grips character, seems
Mhm.
pretty unhinged. It's an interesting little write up from the creator here.
Mhm.
They talk about some of their other companies. So this is 1986, October 1986, when this came out. And they're talking about kind of delays with a couple of them. One of the delays, we had endless problems with the Steck, I think, or Stetch, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, #1 issue. The entire issue has had to be restarted with a new artist, and then in brackets, welcome aboard Rob Liefeld, which I didn't know that he started on a book from Silver Wolf, but so that was kind of nice to see.
Yeah.
But this is Timothy Vigil, and
Mhm.
then Kevin, is it Kevin Silver? I can't remember his first name. K Silver, so Silver Wolf himself writing it. And I mean, of course, because it's a Vigil, you get some hyper metallic looking features there. Like he's got such a unique style.
That
At the
tush, yeah.
time, I imagine that it sort of mimicked a lot of other
Oof.
artists
Look at that
or stuff,
scenes.
but it's pretty great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a Grips trade there, Colin. I'll show you again in a second. But really great stuff. But this Grips character is really unhinged. He
Really.
cuts the guy's balls off there and kind of
Oh my
kind of
god.
here. So you get a lot of black blood on the pages. But then he also has a very kind of unusual style for drawing people. There doesn't seem to be a lot of like, you know, those quote unquote kids, just
Yeah.
like shrunken adults, you know. So there's
Yeah.
something really unique about his style that I kind of
Mhm.
get a kick out of, honestly. And characters like this are really great. Like there's just some really
Oh.
iconic imagery from Vigil here.
Oh, I see.
So it was a fun book overall. It was a pretty enjoyable read.
It's kind
But
of.
yeah, definitely hyper violent and all that. So
I like the art style, but I know what you mean about the kids part. It's like, okay, they are
yeah,
too small, but then you're over detailing like some other things, which is great because you're good at it. But I really
yeah.
like, but it's the art style. It kind of feels familiar, so I kind of we've seen it before somewhere. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. And Vigil was all over the place, but I
Mhm.
think again he's just one of those guys that's iconic from the 90s. He has a very
No,
he's one of those guys that as it kind of
it's
his
great.
career progresses,
Yeah,
it's he's just very very 90s. Even though this was 86, you can
yeah,
see kind of that
yeah,
90s,
yeah,
like
yeah.
especially the metallic look on everything,
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
that kind of line work that makes up the metal parts of like weapons and fists and whatever else he throws on it. So yeah, it was cool. And then it's always nice with this stuff to see a bunch of ads in the back
So loud.
for other books that they had and things that were coming. At this point, they were expanding as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a Silver Wolf Games at this time, and they have two games out: Holocaust Dungeons and Arena. But
Mm-hmm.
then they have another one called Silver Wolf Software, and they're producing right now. They produce two programs right now: the Comic Book Organizer and the computer version of Holocaust Dungeons. So they were
Jeez.
really, again, the height of 1986 and comics,
Mm-hmm.
black and white comics being exploding. Some of these companies just kind of spreading themselves a little thin. So on the back, they give you a sample. Oh, maybe it was a little. They give you
Mm-hmm.
a sample, just kind of some of the images for Arena, and then the Holocaust thing, whatever that was called, Holocaust Dungeon.
Mm.
So I guess they were maybe RPGs, and then they did some video games with them too. So I haven't. I was going to look these up last night to see if there was anything online about them, but I didn't have a chance. So,
Yeah.
and then just to show Colin again here. So
The
this
trade.
is the graphic novel. This one I found locally, Greater Mercury Comics. So it has early stuff. I guess their first appearance,
Mm-hmm.
Ron Lim was doing art.
Oh.
So first visual conception drawn by Ron Lim. So there's kind of recreations of that stuff. So I don't know what year that would have been. 84 possibly. It was maybe a couple of years early. So
Mm.
you get a couple of those reprinted in here. And then you, like I said, you just get the first 4 issues. So even though I
Yeah.
dipped into issue 2, I'm probably going to back up and just read the whole thing now. So, yeah. And this whole thing looks great. So I don't know how many Greater Mercury Comics trades there were, but that is one of them for sure.
Mm.
What else did we miss here? Lefty, hello.
Hello, hello.
Seeing those panels for Godzilla Heist, I'm thinking I've been doing way too much work on my pages. Yeah, totally. And then aren't grips a thing in movie making? Yes, so that is my department. Yes, I read it wrong the first time. I thought it was are they making a movie about grips,
Yeah.
which I hadn't heard of. But yes, grips are the thing. Who's the
Yeah.
key grip? Go and punch him in the face,
Mm-hmm.
as they say in that Tropic Thunder, I think, movie.
Ah, yeah.
I'll never look at the credits of a movie or TV show the same again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. What do you got?
Okay, so I've finished reading this Marvel Comics Presents. It has Wolverine story, and it has Master of Kung Fu, Man Thing, and Captain America, which is interesting enough. Master of Kung Fu is so they're all short stories, and of course I don't have issue number 1, so I don't really know how to start it, which kind of sucks. But reading Master of Kung Fu, it's kind of like something I would want to read more, and this basically reassures me. Is that the kind of mysterious type of writing kind of thing? Like especially when you don't really know where the story started. And I don't know. I have not read any. Unfortunately, I never get hold of any of those magazines with Master of Kung Fu because the popularity of him, Neil Adams, were coming into, and everybody's becoming like quite dear, and lots of things like they're not so easy to get hold of. But reading this, just a couple of stories, which is actually really good art. I tell you who's writers on those. Duck Mensch and Tom Greenberg is the artist or penciler, and
Colin's asking which issue you have there.
this issue 2.
Issue 2.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So it's really cool, just like a little, like he's back from somewhere he hasn't been there before. There's a group of friends he knows about, or he knows them, and they kind of like changed a bit in the time when he was missing. What happened don't have a clue. There's this guy who's basically calls him Asian or Chinese, or you Chinaman kind of thing. They talks to him, then they give him like a little bit like the guy while he was away apparently take up smoking. He's really not impressed with him, and he says to him, "Is it more than the flavored air? And you will die when you can no longer breathe it." This is what he thinks about smoking. So it's kind of that things which is intriguing enough. But yeah, I would read more. Like I just like the way it presents itself. Nothing crazy about the story, I can tell you. But it's just this kind of moments where he has a dream and it tells you this perpetual nightmare he's going for, and the way they write it down, everything in here, which is really what like drives the story forward. And I really like the way the panels are laying out. And I guess I am a Karate Kid fan through and through, and that kind of speaks to me just by seeing these panels and stuff. So I'm finally intrigued. Then now Captain America Cold War. I am not Captain America reader whatsoever. I've read there and there. When this costume happened, because they don't, they're usually kind of very good in Marvel to tell you when this thing came out and what's happened in there and there. But in this story, it was about kind of like almost the same what DC is doing with Green Lanterns. They have a fear eater, a creature look like a centipede kind of character / ant looking creature, which inserts himself into your body, and it survives by your fear things. It's like Green Lantern having yellow or fear, and whatever you have to be withstanding fear in order to become a Green Lantern. So I don't know if Marvel doing that kind of sense of like, okay, we'll nick it and we'll do the story when that happened, who is in front, I don't know. But in this one, the Sphere Eater jumped into Captain America, and Captain America has a different costume. I don't know why he has a different costume. Even the guy's like, "Captain, what's going on with your costume?" And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't even mention the story as well. So it keeps that mystery. So he tells about, oh yeah, apparently the Sphere Eater before he went to Captain America, he went into Silver Surfer. And he managed to withhold Silver Surfer going on, and it actually kind of explains in here. Oh, okay. So yeah. So and this story just continues, and he's like, "Oh, this guy is like really knows." Gets into this cold chamber because Cryoptics lab has been somebody exploded, and there's people in ice. And as you know of Captain America's history, that he has been frozen in ice for a long period of time, for like almost I don't know how many decades, until they got found. And apparently in here they explain the Submariner somehow attacking the creatures who was living nearby, managed to dislodge Captain America's icicle, and when he went in the warm waters, he basically thawed himself like to being alive again. And then they tell a little story in here about how they joined with this group of friends of his. And it's really, honestly, I was so intrigued. I was like reading through this. It's fairly enjoyable, and I really like the panels. I like the grittiness of the face of Captain, not America, but Captain, I guess. But what is confusing for me, because like that now movies these days, the bad guy wears the same costume. The guy who was employed because Captain America basically stopped being Captain America. They needed another guy, so they employed this douche, and he's basically wearing this costume in the movie world. So I'm not sure if it's part of the continuity, but really cool. A little story, and that ended the story as well. So it's kind of like, I don't know when it started, but the way it ended, it just felt like a little good read about Captain and his kind of fears and himself by it. So not bad, eh? Marvel Comics presents Wolverine issue 2, which is basically compilations of 4 stories in one. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, cool.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, stuff like that is fun. Like even when I was dipping into the Action Comics weekly and stuff, there, just those continuing stories. It's a kind of a cool way to read some of this stuff, right? And then get a nice sampling throughout one issue as well, too. I mean, he'll catch on someday. I think if we keep supporting him, he'll eventually, people will know, but he's just not as well known, I think.
Just don't look at Hulk issue 181, okay? Just
right, yeah.
That's just like a mistake. I think they just, yeah. I don't, it says literally, it says Hulk, okay? It's not him, okay? I don't know why people are so fussing about that issue in general.
Should we
Oh yeah. Oh, you look the same.
so
For the first time, we have the same cover, eh? Look at you not going in a
yes.
different route.
Yeah, no, first time I didn't see a Kevin Eastman one. I would have grabbed that if I did, but I did not see it.
By the way, can we say one thing, and can we acknowledge that this Juan Ferreira, wow,
Yep.
what a star of a show, eh? I mean, I know Jason Aaron can write, sure, but damn, that dude knows what he's doing. And we're talking about the
100%.
panel works. Oh yeah, that seems
this is my only minor complaint of the whole thing. I found this layout incredibly confusing with following the action versus the speech bubbles, but I 100% agree with you. His art is so goddamn good.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes this book. It is so good.
It has grit. It has pages to explosions. The turtles in action. All of them look really kind of like they are kind of overly possessed, and they kind of like having that. It's kind of strange, but the way it feels like they're getting the message, you know, like where Donnie is being praising because he's the crazy one, okay? But he's the one who's in the most trouble now because of these brothers cannot be in the same room anymore, it seems to be. All of them having problems, all of them disagrees with each other. And this guy who has been through the most says, I'm done with you guys. I'm going to deal with the situation, but you're not hearing me. There's, you know, the splinter, the dead rat we keep talking, he's keep talking about, and it's displaying that. Is basically, you can see the rib cage already in that poor rat's thing. And it's like, listen, you know, you have to hear what the splinter is trying to tell you. And everybody's thinking like, oh my God, you bloody insane. What the hell you on about? And now we have basically all other brothers. And I like this kind of thing. They like, you know, they carry each other, and Raphael is being Raphael, always the macho dude, you know, like I'm the strong pair in here, you know. It's funny. It's how good the art can make the story. And we keep telling, yes, writers are extremely important because at the end of the day they drive the story forward, but damn, the artists are making it so. You know, if and you can't, if you're enjoying what the guy is doing, you definitely.
I also love, just while you're on that page, I love the like lighting and stuff from the sewer. It's just really nice. It's just nicely done, right? So
and he's doing it himself. Everything seems to be, doesn't have his own colors or anything. But I am so that's why you see Donnie sitting in the jail, because this Kingpin, I mean, it's not Kingpin, but Hale. He is the one who has captured him, because he basically surrendered himself, honestly, the way it got captured. So he's the one who's like laughing, and suddenly, you know, like when he's insane, but the way he's talking to Hale about stuff and how he managed to pressure on the things what Hale doesn't like to hear about was fantastically told. That it had that enough like grip and drama in a way in the pages. So that really felt really good, because they only been given 2 pages really to understand what's happening, about what this whole story surrounds. And then you have April, who's become like a almost Pied Piper. Did you? Because she has all these rats next to her, which is intriguing, because they haven't yet really fully showed what she's all about. Because we know Casey is in coma, so he's not there. We know that April came to Casey's hospital room because she kind of like, you know, like her ex-boyfriend, whatever the relationship they have a history. But she taken kind of like in a way the mantle of Casey, because I think she took the mask and she took the bat. So I wonder what he's going to do yet with her, but we're just seeing like slowly a little bit of the story of that. Yeah. But the main guy, I was laughing because what he was wearing in here.
Yeah, it's great.
Like, because he was kind of talking about his TV show, and then like, okay, do you remember? And he's trying to explain to these kids about why he's wearing that, and don't you understand what nunchuck is? That was really cool. I really liked the vibe, but I am a fan, as you can clearly see, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it this now, thankfully. I was really worried for a second, for sure. But now it's definitely, I'm excited. I'm really enjoying the guy, Ferrera's art. I mean, this, as I say, he is amazing, honestly, when it comes to all the panels. any panels he can do. One big splash page with those crazy
That's
songs
a
they
fun one
created.
with, I'm assuming, the theme song and stuff. That was a fun
Yeah,
page for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
exactly. And the
Yeah.
colors used and all this, he's expressing himself fully, it seems to be in here, and he's been let to do whatever he needs to.
Hmm.
That moment in here in the park when he discovers, he talks to this mysterious figure. I wonder who that mysterious figure is. I hope it's not,
Hmm.
maybe it's a Splinter, but I'm not sure because you can't see it.
I don't know.
It
It
could
feels
be
like it's going to
anything.
be someone, right? Because it's really getting
Yeah,
set up as like there's going to be a surprise. So get this issue
yeah.
because this is the potential first cameo appearance of some future character if it's someone new, right? Like,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. But I really thoroughly enjoy it, and as I say, it's good. I don't know. You talk now because I'm more of a
No, I
fanboy.
mean you've said everything that I would say, and I appreciate I appreciate the gritty story. I also appreciate some of like the small touches. Like I really like the way these cop lights look. It feels a
Mm-hmm.
bit like oil painting. It feels like they're blown out because of the wetness and stuff. I
Mm,
like the subtle things like this panel where you just see their weapons because they're very iconic, like the
yeah.
use of color there as well, again, as each of them are fighting. Like there's just so much of these really nice touches
Mm-hmm.
throughout it that it makes it really enjoyable to read. Yeah,
My
that image is so fucking good.
That's my
Like
favorite
talk
panel.
about Frank Miller. Yeah, that's an unbelievable panel.
I like the color schemes. I like why, the way it was set it up, the way
Yep.
everything was shown. Like nothing to guess about. You knew something completely crazy is gonna happen, and
Yeah.
this is what it is. And I really like the use of the blacks. And you see, that's the clever part of comic books. And when you can disclose this kind of emotional in just a few couple like black lines, but it
Hmm.
explodes to the point where you wanted to explain is really good. So yeah, my
Hmm.
favorite panel.
And then like as far as the story goes, I do like the fact that they're all sort of coming around to this
Yeah.
kind of idea of Splinter. Like we just got to basically sit and meditate and remember his teachings. You know what I mean? That's almost what it reads like. Like,
Yeah.
yes, maybe he's talking to them, but it feels like they've
Very
cut
gentle.
off that part of themselves, and now
Yeah.
they're sort of open to listening to who they used to be and trying to move forward. Like it's just a well done book, man. It's really enjoyable. I'm so glad that it got better because it had its,
Oof.
like you said, there were some worries at the beginning for sure.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what the previous, they still continuously with what was left behind. So, which is great, which is what I wanted to in generally to see that from the first 4 issues when we received it, but we didn't have it. But now we can see that they continuously, there is the background, so they didn't forget about what was beforehand, and they continues that because the fight between all those brothers is, it started a very long time ago, and it continues from the issue number 1 way when IW released a new run with Ken Winsman and Peter Laird
Hmm.
writing that famous run for 150 issues. So yeah, it's nice to see this going continuously. And
Yeah.
Jason Schreier's writing is cleverly placed. It seems to be is hinting at some things. If you start to understand a little bit how his writing goes, those mysterious figures conversations, she suddenly appears, or who he or it appears in that subway while he's sitting down and getting to the destinations and start warning you why you sure you want to be there because those shark kids are there. It's kind of funny how
Hmm.
intriguing how they look, kind of funny, like the baby shark, that your kids are watching. Kind of look all
Uh-huh.
that, and then you see the smashing face from because he's like teaching you a lesson what nunchuck is, and it's kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
hilarious the way he's
yeah.
explaining that. So yeah, really cool. And I'm really, as I say, as a fan, I'm really glad, and I'm continuously, and I'm glad you're enjoying it as well because I know you would like
Oh
said,
yeah,
okay,
so good.
you said to me that
And
I had
I
to.
think because, like I said, I think it has enough of, because I love the original stuff. I love the early stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't grow up with it like a lot of other people did. I knew
Mhm.
about it and friends of mine read it and things like that. And I did have a couple of issues, but I wasn't an enormous fan back then. But
Mm.
revisiting it, that early stuff is so good. And part of what I love about it is kind of the gritty nature of it.
Yeah.
And I do find that they're capturing a lot of that. Yes, it's very modern still, but there's enough of that kind of grittiness to it that
Yeah.
works very, very well. They found like a nice balance, I think, right? So,
They also, of course, what they're trying to do is to advertise that there's a new series on issues are coming out with IW in August. that they're gonna have Shredder coming back. So Shredder is gonna be appearing once again
Mhm.
because he died also as well.
Mhm.
So it seems to be Shredder, but he's gonna have his own series. So that's what really bugs me sometimes with Turtles, because they have so many offshoots, and you don't really
Yeah.
know if they're gonna continue, like they let the story go by itself, or they will keep on adding some layers from in other splintered issues, which I never usually do. But what I hear
Right.
about when they have, I've seen some, the people who collect in hardcovers, they look fantastic because they're all the same. They never vary. So on the bookshelf, it looks fantastic, and they're saying the reading is fantastic because they include everything. But
Mhm.
also, they're having shoddy kind of like non like release dates anymore, which aren't consistent anymore. So it used to be
Mhm.
very consistent coming out, blah blah blah, but suddenly they're having an issue of doing that.
Mhm.
So you never know. Sometimes people get angry, like I've been waiting like years for this to come out, and then like in this special edition because I've been collecting like that. So
Mhm.
it's not always easy.
Well, I think that's the only other thing with this one. I hope it does kind of continue for a while. I hope it's not like 12 issues and then they end it. I hope this is kind of an ongoing and we get like, 30, 40, 50, however many issues they want to do.
Well,
I hope it kind of keeps going.
the problem is they have Jason Aaron, and in
Yeah.
how long Jason Aaron wants to do it. That's the whole point, and this is how long it will take. So if he isn't for long term, then it's good for if it continues in that same fashion. It seems to be going strong, but it depends because you have the writer of that caliber. How long does he want to be a turtle writer?
Yeah.
It's not like Kevin Eastman and Laird and other people they get involved with, because they were three of them. You had three names on it, so they were like original creators / somebody else they would be inviting somebody to come in, but
Mhm.
then you still had the consistency. So that's why they went for such a long run. 150 issues is not something easy to go by it these days anymore. So
Mhm. Mhm.
let's hope, fingers crossed it, or knock it on
Yep.
on,
Let's
on
hope.
any wood pieces you have. Yeah.
Yep.
It continues.
So should we go to the
Yeah. Oh, you took that. Yeah.
I did just because I don't like getting my grubby hands all over that dust jacket because they tend to pick up fingerprints. And
I already
yes, I'm
bent.
that kind of collector with some of this stuff.
I already bended mine because I couldn't.
So for people that don't know, you've been asleep or haven't been watching the channel. So it's Dimwood by Richard Corben has finally come out. So the story on this one, this was the project he was working on before he passed away. What I guess I didn't realize from some of the preliminary write-ups was how involved his daughter was with helping with coloring. So that
Well,
was something that I didn't know. Beth Corbin Reed, or sorry, is that his wife? Maybe
no,
I'm
that's his
confused.
daughter, Beth.
It's his
Yeah.
daughter. Okay, yes, I thought I was saying it right.
Mm.
So it's amazing to see that she was involved as well too, and of course Jose Villarrubia
Mhm.
has a really great write up in here. I love his back matter little write up. Honestly, I found, like, just as a very broad overview, I found this an amazing kind of final story from Corbin. I
Mhm.
thoroughly enjoyed this,
Yeah.
but in a whole bunch of different ways. And I
Mhm.
think that part of my enjoyment was kind of Jose talking about his experience with him and working together and just
Yeah.
thinking about his career as an artist. Obviously, I know his stuff from underground comics and things, but then
Mhm.
there's people that know his creepy and eerie stuff maybe a little better. And I was watching some kayfabe videos recently talking about Heavy Metal Magazine, the first two issues of Heavy Metal Magazine, and his
Mhm.
appearance in there. So there's going to be people that know Dan more than other stuff. So I'm so glad that we finally got this. I love, like, this is kind of obviously his later era storytelling did
Mm.
turn a lot into sort of it was more like environmental, like there's this sort of, in this kind of existential or cosmic type of horror, there's a real kind of thread of a character in a house or in a part of the country or in the woods or something, and it's more about the environment that's playing on them as the character as well as their real life in there. So it's sort of that Lovecraftian, I guess, type of horror that he was doing for the end of his career there.
Mm.
But I thought it worked really well. And then we'll talk, kind of go through pages. But what's your, first of all, overall impression of it?
I really like the way this book looks without slipcase, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like the way it's presented. It's much
Hmm.
more. I really love the idea of that writing right at the back. I think that really suits this kind of thing. You can see my grubby fingers already, but hey. But I really like the way it's designed. It feels, of course, really great. It's Dark Horse production, but for me, I am not as much read person for Corben series, but I'm more into kind of like discovering of appreciating his work more than I used to be honest. I
Hmm.
never felt that at the beginning, especially of my reading comic books, which I was more into like really, like clean looking art, like those like
Hmm.
DCs and Marvels. They were picking kind of like that because I aesthetically is pleasing enough for my eye. I enjoy that because that's how you kind of like start discovering what your likes and dislikes are. But since I start to get into my more independent graphic novel readings moments now, since library, I'm using library way more than really what I'm picking up and buying. I
Hmm.
have discovered the need of something different to look at, and
Yeah.
Corbin has been not like I could understand because like his faces aren't the most like presentable, right? But
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I've started to appreciate the way he presents them emotionally, how he presents their body types. He's never you're a conventional skinny girl, or like, but he like some certain things which is like blacks he's using. For example, in here you can see clearly how much black is used, but then colors, and afterwards you're reading in the story with Villaruby is explaining his coloring process, and he was thinking, "Oh, I understand how his coloring process was," but suddenly he's done something for him and said, "Oh, wait, no, I don't want that," and he was really
Yeah. Yeah.
surprised
Yeah.
by it. So he was involved himself in it. But the more I read of Corbin, the more you gave me, I think, some of the single things or whatever I've read, the more I started appreciating what the man was doing, really. And I think that's what happens with. I think Corbin is an artist which you need to read a lot of to start to appreciate his way of working, the way he's storytelling, and his storytelling in here was absolutely spot on to me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never got
I
lost.
agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Haven't been lost in translation. There's nothing happening there where you question it. Maybe it doesn't make sense of this. Everything was going to from A to end precisely how he intended, in the way I feel like I have understood exactly what he's written, and I really enjoyed it. I honestly maybe can say something that this guy or the bad guy of the storyline kind of in a way looks like Rat King, because Rat King is the one thing I've kind of exposed. I even have it collected edition here, so maybe it's the
Hmm.
most I've read of like the whole chunk of a story. So I've read some of the Corbin stuff, like like Corbin and Hellboy. I thoroughly liked it. Like that's the thing. So whatever he's done that, no, I haven't really explored Corbin's independent stuff like that. Like those
Hmm.
underground things. Like Den, I have whatever you have given to me. That's how far
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know Den is. And then
Yeah.
honestly, not my favorite because it's just the way it's told, and then I don't know, maybe it's the character itself. I kind of know what I want to follow him for further down the storyline.
Hmm.
But those kind of like short stories like these is really what I really like about Corben. So this
Well,
is
and I
what,
think like one of the things, just to touch on his style, I think
yeah.
that that's also part of the beauty of any artist that you're going to follow throughout their career. You're
Hmm.
going to get some like the language of their style will kind of open itself up to you,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
just seeing kind of the development of his art since those undergrounds
Yeah.
and sitting with it. I mean, some of these expressions are unbelievable, even though the
Mm.
faces themselves might be a little wonky. Like,
Hmm.
look at that expression on her face, and it's really,
Hmm.
he's able to kind of fill these characters with a very I don't know, they exist. Like, I feel like they exist and we're in a world with them, that kind of screw face and looking over her shoulder and things.
Yeah.
Really nice. And I also like, one of the things that I do enjoy sometimes is his kind of inconsistencies in very loose quotes with
Hmm.
some of the faces where it looks like things are maybe done a little quicker, and they're rushed, and then
Hmm.
it kind of blends back to kind of this really hyper stylized. I love like his camera angles in this
Mhm.
background, seeing that sort of top down, but not right over top, this sort of 3/4
Yeah.
feels like that's a very unique thing to Corben,
Mhm.
even in his own work, this kind of page here. But some of those stylistic choices, as it sort of goes through the story, it
Mhm.
really gives the whole story the sense of kind of fluidity and dreamlike quality, where some things are going to be hyper focused and some things are going to be a little blurry. When he's talking about his stepfather there, and we get some of these where he starts to kind of morph and mutate. The
Yeah.
look of it gets a little softer look, so it starts
Mhm.
feeling like a little more dreamlike.
Mhm.
And I assume that at this point in someone's career, that stuff is a choice, and it's something that they're doing purposefully. But it does really lend itself to this whole story of this very creepy vibe. He's really good at presenting a creepy vibe. Like, look
Yeah.
how, speaking of lighting, look how good that is there. It's
Mhm.
just a stunner, page after page. I was really just taken with this book. So good. Yeah.
I never thought this way, but his coloring and the way his face drawn or and colored looks very much 3D. It's like pop-up kind of book. It
Yeah.
feels like it.
100%. Yeah.
And then he has this element where there's water on dripping, like then it's raining and stuff, and just feels like like they are really kind of like under drenched by water, especially in the scenes where we were talking in the cemetery. The first things what we actually basically get exposed to
Yep.
more characters in this book, and they all sitting down, like they're talking to it, but they all are like umbrellas, and it just feels like it's supposed to be this really creepy vibe about the person who's about to be buried. That really felt like uncomfortable, but like all this kind of thing. But they all like all these figures, all these faces are really much like you could see the figures like popping out of the pages for you. And the girl's expression when she's been found somewhere in cemetery because she's running away, and that's how she gets to be introduced in the storyline. And when I was so talking storyline, when we were introduced to her brother, and the way the brother was speaking to her, I was like, okay, this is something is going on here. So I already had like a inkling in my head saying what's going on. So is he there or not and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
like it's the story itself very creepy. I mean, in like at the end of the day, the setting was this Dimwood, the area where um the actions gonna happen. That's where our main character is from. That's where all the family is from. But she's appearing here when the very bad things happen, the funeral, and then she was supposed to be not coming back really. But everybody was surprised to see her because what's this history, why she's there, and what his intention of the family was. So all of it is like so far, like from the get-go, it had it built up the creepiness, isn't it? Like the way it was
Mhm.
telling the story, how you're discovering the true meaning, why everything this kind of creepy vibes of the forest had, who is the creature behind it, why people were disappearing and stuff like that. So I really liked that part, and it was continually building until right at the last moment, which is right at the last moment. It's really nice to have a horror story or a story of intent, which going from the beginning right to almost to the last page, which is
Mhm.
exactly how your like the intense feeling has kept it. Like, is it going to be she, will she, or won't she, like survival
Yeah,
mode
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that, which is continuous throughout, even the like like about to like she's about to leave and stuff like that. And we still didn't like suddenly like there's this another scene you see is like, oh, okay, it's not finished yet.
Mhm,
Nobody
mhm.
can get rid of this creature. And like, so we can actually I mean, you want to start continue story, like what we're talking about and what's
No, I think that's a good over since it's so new. I mean,
yeah.
what I'll say about the story in general is I think stories like this work so well for
Yeah.
Corben because yes, he's a good writer when it comes to this kind of thing, but I think that's because he's at this point in his career he was so comfortable within this particular genre that
Yeah.
he knew kind of what the beginning, because I mean there's no hardcore twists in here of like, oh my god, I never saw that coming. Like you said, when her interaction with her brother, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, there's something not quite right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's sort of hinted.
Yeah.
So there's not like, this isn't storytelling where it's about a twist. This isn't an M. Night Shyamalan where it's only going to be the wind at the end of the day or something, right? Like this is, and I think that works really well. And it's one of the things that I do understand the criticism of genre comics and genre storytelling.
Yeah.
I would argue that every type of storytelling in movies or comics or whatever, every story is within some sort of genre. But I do understand the criticism sometimes of working within a genre because you know the parameters. But sometimes knowing those parameters of a genre, I think are incredibly gratifying, seeing someone live within that and what they're able to tell. Because again, the draw for Corben stuff is his art, is his coloring, is his visual storytelling, as opposed to a story that's going to show you something you've never seen before, you know?
One thing that made me laugh, not that this was, of course it was funny, but his intent of females being without tops are evident in this one as well. You know, like the intent of this, like they're having this conversation. She's like, "Oh, I'm serious talking about it," and the guy, like, he's senior to her, like, nicely, he's like, "Can you just put your shirt back on?" It's like, "Oh, I didn't realize it," because she was in this in a situation where she lost her things. And that was really, I think that moment where she ended up being, it kept the creepiness vibe even further down. It felt like really kind of like when she was describing the situation where it's at, it felt like you were like, oh my god, that's really, like, I wouldn't want to. The first thing I was saying to myself, I wouldn't have been there. Like, I don't know what the hell is on with you. Maybe you like the creepy vibes or something like that, or you're used to it, because at the end of the day, we follow a family of 2 kids and the mother. You can tell that. So the story is the mother of 2 kids who gets married to somebody, a man of science. And from then onwards, things escalate to a point because the mother is wealthy, so she doesn't really need a man, really. She has everything what they all sort, as a family itself, they all sorted. So they should be living in this great mansion in the middle of this land they all own, surrounding it. They have people taking care of them, like, you know, like people like butlers and all that stuff. Seems to be all dining good until the marriage of this guy, scientist, who is really into fungi. And it's as far as I go there. So But honestly, surprised, because I wasn't expecting. Honestly, I wasn't expecting anything on this book, and that's the best way for me to read. I always do the same thing when I go to library. I pick it up, see what, you know. I don't even try it because they don't even have backwards in here, which is great. But I don't even read that kind of things, you know. And then you read it and you make up your mind. But I read it, like, when I received it on the day, I read a couple of pages and I was like, no, I have to give more attention because I'm already into it. So when I sat down, I had that moment. And that's the thing about reading comic books. I have to have a moment. I really like my time to take the story in, and especially if it grabs me straight away. And and it's because you told me that it's the last story he has ever done. There's even a picture at the back of this book showing him doing the page.
Great.
Yeah,
looking at the model of the face and
and the Lord, exactly. So it's really cool, and I'm glad, even though I have not picked up Din. I like the Arabian Nights is another thing which you are mentioning.
That's coming as well too. Yep.
So that's the one I want to go for because it seems to be the story I would really enjoy reading. But this was great, and honestly, I don't know if you have seen any differences. I don't know if I can, because I'm not as much of Corben connoisseur, so I've not read many of it. Can you see the differences in the last those 20 pages?
I mean,
as Will Ruby has mentioned, he has worked for
98 to 120.
Yeah. It doesn't have page numbers, unfortunately.
Oh, they don't have page numbers. Well, that makes it really difficult, because I was going to look. Honestly, there
is some subtle change.
It's hard to tell. Like there's some changes throughout it, but again, even with all of Corben's work where he's done everything, you notice some kind of changes throughout it with different textures for lighting and coloring and things like that. And then some panels that maybe feel a little more rushed and rough as opposed to the ones that are really polished. So I feel like there's always that his artwork works very well in that, because
one of my
kind of changes.
my favorite moments of the story started from here.
So good. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because you kind of had lots of actions already, so this book goes through a lot, but this integral part of a storyline
Yeah.
kind of paved forward understanding really what's happening, because we weren't sure yet. It wasn't really explained to us, but from this moment onwards, that's where. And then the way it's presented, it's like vague figure and suddenly appears, and then she understands who
Yeah.
she's talking to, and there's this girl who she's protecting who is running away from the same thing. So it's
Yep.
kind of integral part of the storyline, where I was like, okay, so this is like exactly how I have enough tension already built up from the beginning. Now I get rewarded for, and like going forward of the story. So I
Yeah.
really like this part. So, and
Yeah.
then
It looks
we had the
beautiful too.
past scenes. I'm just going to show you. This is a past scenes which
Love it.
were fantastic as well, by the
Yeah.
way. So I really like that. So
Winter scenes are always my favorite, but those are stellar. Yeah, and I also like the color shift throughout the story too. Like
yeah,
there's really overwhelming kind of color palettes throughout, and then the way it ends,
yeah,
that color shift is amazing because
yeah.
everything else has kind of been this cold and wet, and then you're getting this fire and stuff, and it really you can feel it on the page. The other thing that's interesting to me is about that front cover.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that that's a layer of a photo of a tree that's laid in with that art? Or do you think that it's actually painted in there to look like tree bark? Because I was
No,
looking at it and I'm not sure.
no, it is painted to
You
look
think
like
so?
tree
Hey,
bark. Yeah,
yeah,
because you can see the layers of paint over it, like
right.
several intended. Because this is a face, yeah,
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, like for that background with that texture,
yeah,
because it really does a good job of blurring that line. Because I mean, again, like I'm looking at it, and
yeah.
when I
You
was
could
looking at it at
probably
first, I
see
thought it
it.
might be something
Yeah,
else
but
with some layers added to it.
yeah,
I wonder if there's a base layer of like a photo of a tree that then is overlaid. Hello, Donald Rex, by the way. Hello.
yeah. Hello, hello. Yeah, it's kind of that mossy like tinge to it, where you
Yep.
can't really do that with. I mean, maybe some artists can, but not the most easiest feat, because I like the way it's how many colors it has used on this picture.
Hmm.
But that's the typical Corben things with very bold overlines. Like you can clearly see it's been kind of like marked almost to a point, because such a thick lines
Yeah,
used. I
right.
don't know if he's actually even using the ink.
Right.
It just feels like it's been marked over, to be honest.
Hmm. Hmm.
But maybe just as the way it feels on the cover and the way
Like
it's painted.
especially those colored kind of bumps or warts or whatever.
And then inside covers artist very nice
Yeah.
also.
I mean, it was probably like as much as I've anticipated this whole thing, this was probably my most anticipated one.
Wow,
And I
okay.
think that it lived up to my expectations for sure.
Mhm.
Again, not like you. I didn't know anything about what the story was gonna be. I
Yeah,
knew roughly because of the era and things,
yeah.
obviously, but like I don't know, man. It just I thought it
And
was a
you get
really nicely well done project, and I love, like I said, I just love the way it's put together. I love what Jose says about his interactions with
yeah,
Corben, and like you're about to show, yeah, those sketches at the back are
yeah.
amazing as well to this gallery.
Yeah. And then, of course, don't forget there's some extra about Richard Corbin himself at the back. It
Yeah, and
gives
then they
you,
have that at the end of every one of these
yeah,
books, that same page.
which I didn't know that they have, but yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's all the same size and everything. They don't change. Everything looks the.
Exactly the same size. Everything is totally the same for all of them so far.
I like
Slipcases are the same, and yeah, so
I like the size of it. It's not overbearingly
mhm,
huge, but it's not small. So it doesn't have a typical trade like graphic novel. Like I'll show you my beloved Cursed Pirate Girl. So in
mhm.
comparison, so there's much more size to this book when you Cursed Pirate Girl is. So because Cursed
So I
Pirate
think the
Girl,
only other thing to say about it is if you are interested in it, like
go get
Corbin
it.
stuff tends to go out of print. Yeah, and Rasa was saying that the place she got it from, they've already sold out.
Yeah, I have to
So if you do
pre-order.
see it, if you're interested, grab it, I think.
Yeah, this is really cool. I think something like it doesn't. It has full story in it, so you'll experience all the Corbin that is, and maybe the last, like days of Corben, unfortunately, what his intent of this. And then you kind of like, if this works for you, then you definitely can go for other library books like Ben's. Maybe you can
Mhm.
more, you want to discover more. But this is good. I mean, I really like contained storyline graphic novels, especially like this story. And knowing that he was working for so many like Allan Poe issues, like the stories, you can see that he had it's inspiration of his own things to tell, and he kind of
Mhm.
like has already put the foot in, even though because he kind of tells you the story of his life anyway by Jose Villarrubia, how he worked and how he got exposed himself towards that, and how he was upset that he didn't get work because some other
Mhm.
guy company got, and he's like, oh, but he continues trying and stuff like that. So he, I would want to have a lot of stuff like Cage books from Marvel. Cage, he did the Cage. I didn't even realize a lots of stuff. I have not
Yep.
realized what he
Cage
done.
Banner. Yep.
Yeah, so I
Yep.
haven't seen any of that stuff. I mean, maybe you showed me. Of course, you probably have showed some stuff.
I don't have the Banner book. Cage I do have though.
Yeah,
Yeah, so and again, there's just so much of it. It's some of
yeah,
it is just hard to find, those single issues especially.
yeah.
The other thing I'll say just about like this being the end of his career and the end of his life, like it's incredible. I don't know how late he was working on this book. I
Mm-hmm,
imagine to the very end is
mm-hmm,
my impression of it. But seeing his kind of craftsmanship still be top notch, even as he was at the end of his life, like it's pretty amazing. That
mm-hmm.
level of quality overall is you
Yeah,
know eh, you couldn't tell if you put these with stuff throughout his career.
yeah.
I don't think you'd be able to isolate exactly when this was, especially his later career stuff. I just
Mm.
wanted to highlight a couple things Lefty Blues is saying. There's the he tracked down the Corben series Edgar Allan Poe book and Lovecraft book published by Marvel Max,
Yeah.
and those were the Haunt of Horror 3-issue series Corben did at Marvel. Yes, I do know those ones. There's one that I've been looking for a long time, House on the Borderlands,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm really anxious to read, but I've never seen it. It's one of those, even on my comic shop, it's just not available.
Oh,
So,
really?
and then Lefty is saying both are in black and white. Yeah.
Oh, now I want to read that House of the because you
Yeah,
you
House on the Borderlands is great. I've read the book as well too, but these other ones that he's talking about, the
yeah.
Haunt of Horror, they're great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, love it. Fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Corben is one of the best, I think. Absolutely one of my favorites. And yeah, I mean, Dark Horse is doing an incredible job. Jose's doing an incredible job keeping this going, and I hope that they're successful. So we kind of keep getting more of these because I'm curious to. I'd love to have a nice full library of just Corben stuff in this format. I think.
In America, somebody said the House of Borderlands hardcover Vertigo 2000s, Richard Corben,
Oh, that's
60,
right. It was Vertigo. Yeah, right.
£60
Yeah.
or whatever that it translates, but nothing in UK, of course. Oh, for God's sake.
Hmm.
That means it's not going to be so easy, like you say, to find it.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, and I
And
think
it's,
there's a few things with throughout his career that are just so difficult to find. Like that Bigfoot one, for example. It's
yeah,
tough to see, tough to find those, right? So,
exactly. Okay.
cool. Do you
So
have
that's it.
anything else?
No, not really. I have finished the digital reading that what is it? Oh, now I've been blanking the name, man. Well, that's not good, is it? That doesn't bode well, really. Give me a second. I'll shoot a child too. Come on, not that. By the horns. Is that for a chick which is going after the unicorns, and she decided that her husband to
Oh,
be
yeah,
the
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
And it's
Yes.
only
Yep.
first volume, so the story actually doesn't end. I didn't connect my tablet, so but this is the taste of that.
Hmm.
So it's this first volume, so it doesn't even finish the story. There's supposed to they saying supposed to be second volume, but I'm not sure if they have ever released the second volume because of the problems with the publishing house. Remember I was mentioning. So I
Hmm.
read that one. It's like, okay, I want to read more, but I can't because I don't know if there's any other ones.
Right.
And then that's it. I really haven't yet read that much. that week because I knew we're not going to do any, so I wasn't rushing. I was taking my sweet ass time.
Yeah. The
And
only other one I kind of dipped my toes into, I haven't finished yet though.
Yeah.
A Jim Rugg, True Crime Funnies. This was from shoot, why am I blanking now all of a sudden? Not Nate. Dan Elson.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan. Drew a blank there for a second. So Dan sent me this one, and it's pretty great. I've just read the first story in it. Jim Rugg stuff is kind of hit or miss for me. I love his style. I love his kind of ability to kind of mimic. It's nice also to have something that's signed by Jim. But yeah, so I haven't finished this one off yet, but pretty damn good so far. And for me, that's it. That's all I've read. So a lot of stuff around me to read, but I just haven't dipped into it yet. So
exactly.
Why don't we call it then? Fangoria has an article from today that they will release Rat God from Corben in November, and you can pre-order now. Interesting. Fangoria reissuing Rat God. That's odd, isn't it?
Because that book is I have the Rat God hardcover, and it hasn't been printed for like a decade, isn't it, or more?
Right. Yeah.
And it hasn't been. Through Dark Horse.
I see. Yeah, through Dark Horse. There you go. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see. So it was an article in Fangoria, not Fangoria. Sorry, I misread that. Yes. I get you now. I got it.
Yeah. So it's been a while. So people are excited about whoever, because it's quite pricey book to
have to read it again, I guess.
You have it.
Right on, everybody. Thanks very much for hanging out on a Monday. 11 people around, which is kind of amazing. So get back to work, I guess, and we'll see you probably next weekend, possibly. Oh no, not next Sunday. It might be another Monday thing. So it might work out. Mondays might work out best for me going forward for the next few weeks, but I'll let you know, and we'll go from there. Right on, everybody. Thanks very much. Later.
Have a good one. Bye.